Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This time I'm going to be talking about an oldie but a goodie. I'm going to be talking about C0rpse Bride. More specifically, I'm going to explain why Emily and Victor would not have made a good couple. Again, with another controversial opinion, not a great way to start a YouTube channel. However, feeling strongly about fictional stories that do not impact my life whatsoever is kind of what I do best, so here we are. I just want to give a little bit of a clarification, I suppose. Throughout this video, you're gonna hear me use a lot of goofy words, and that's because there's just certain phrases that YouTube does not allow for. It is the way that it is. Okay, so we should establish that Bride was based on a Jewish folktale named The Finger. In this tale, the guy does end up with the breathing girl, while the other one, the one who's not breathing, vanishes. Then in the OG script for C0rpse Bride, Victor does seem to have more interactions and feelings for Emily, but that script also ended up with Victor and Victoria together, while Emily ascends to heaven. Now, I might personally like Victoria more as a character. However, even with Victoria out of the equation, I still wouldn't want Emily ending up with Victor, or anyone else for that matter, really. I think the purpose of this story was not really about who Victor loved more, but rather it was about something bigger. So I'm not here to put two fictional women against each other. I just want to focus on Emily, her story, her toxic relationship with Victor, and why the ending that she got is the best ending for her. So let's get into the rant. The misconception of Emily's personality. Emily is portrayed as an incredible, unmatched beauty from a wealthy family who, despite this, remains humble. She is an artsy woman who seems to be well versed in the performing arts. She's a free spirit, quite often optimistic, innocent, and emotional. To a lot of people, this comes across as her being a secure, confident woman who doesn't have much interest in complying with society's idea of the perfect woman. They think Emily knowingly acts in this way because she's true to herself and she refuses to be oppressed. I completely disagree. Emily is funny, she is beautiful, she is innocent, optimistic, free spirit, and emotional. However, she is all of those things because she has the innocence of a child, and IMO in her real life when she was breathing, she just never had the need to worry about those things. But I also want us to consider these two things for a little bit. For one, all of the inhabitants downstairs are more lively, cheerful, and free than the ones upstairs because cancels the need to fit in. There's no reason to abide by social hierarchy or rules. They're all equal in the land down under, and I don't mean Australia. And they can be whoever they want, which makes me believe that if we had met Emily when she was alive, her personality would be toned down a lot. Clearly, the artsy free spirit in her would remain, but in a more subtle manner. Secondly, Emily is the Victorian equivalent of a manic pixie dream girl. She doesn't act this way in a willing, educated act of rebellion. She's this way because she's naive, clueless, and spoiled. My theory is that Emily's parents did care for and love her a lot, especially her dad. I think the reason why Bone Jangles in the song Remains of the Day sings the line, "But Daddy said no," was to hint at the fact that she was Daddy's little girl. Not in a, you know what I mean. Yeah. This would explain why she was allowed to learn how to play the piano and engage in her hobbies, even though we know through Victoria's parents that this was not acceptable at that point in time. We also hear in that same song that Barkis sweet-talked her into a relationship, even though it is implied that she probably had many suitors. I think she was very sheltered about the dangers of the world and ignorant about her privilege in life. Essentially, her parents handled all of the bad things for her, making her not only an easy prey, but an immature and non-functional adult. That is why Emily seems to have very poor social skills, like for example, not introducing herself to Victor, who didn't even know her name. And even when she does introduce herself, it's a first name basis, there's no last name. When she asks the elder to help her, she almost sort of begs in the way a child would ask for a toy. And her emotional reactions are similar to the temper tantrums of a toddler. I'm not trying to shade her, by the way, because it's this same naivety that gives her the kindness and charm that she is known for. Unfortunately, this is what keeps causing her so much heartache. Even after Barkus, Emily doesn't seem to learn from her mistakes. She's so trusting and is horrible at reading people. Emily and Victor. Whenever I'm online reading discourse about this movie, I always come across many comments that swear Emily and Victor have so much in common and that they would have made the perfect couple had they been given more time. Now, you're entitled to your opinion, even if it's wrong. No, I'm kidding. But here are my points as to why I don't agree with that. Let's start with their compatibility. Emily is an outgoing, social, loud person. Victor is shy and seems to hate attention. He'd rather keep to himself. We don't know much about Emily's life, but it's very clear, seeing her mannerisms and personality, that her home environment was definitely more loving and nurturing than Victor's was. Now, Victor is a scaredy cat, but not necessarily a coward. And I know you're thinking, how could that be? What do you mean? Explain yourself. I will. Give me a second. He does like to run away from many of his problems, but when things get serious, he does step up to the plate. We see this when Barkus threatens to take Victoria away, and Victor stands up to him even though Barkus is holding a pointy object to her neck and Victor is empty-handed. He has nothing. Then when he realizes that he's hurt Emily's feelings after telling her that she was a mistake, he tries to talk to her. In fact, shy and clumsy as he is, we often see him trying to explain his way out of these uncomfortable situations. It's the people around him, though, that don't really have a lot of interest in hearing what he has to say, and that's why he ends up running away a lot of the times. On the contrary, Emily likes solving problems physically by standing her ground, but she will do anything she can to avoid difficult, uncomfortable conversations. So we can already see here that their personalities are very different, and there's nothing wrong with opposites attracting, but in order for that to happen, there needs to be a level of common ground. In this case, though, there's no bridge connecting both of them. So you can see there that in an argument, there wouldn't really be a healthy way for them to figure it out. And we actually do see this in the movie because Victor and Emily never really have any meaningful conversations. Emily never listens to what Victor has to say. I mean, sure, she listens, but she never really comprehends. She never asks questions, and she has selective hearing. She has the habit of dismissing whatever she doesn't agree with or doesn't understand. Like after pulling Victor up from the balcony, Emily shies away from asking if he was escaping and instead makes a joke about the beautiful view. In this same scene, Victor tries to initiate a conversation to explain to her why he doesn't agree with this marriage, and instead she changes the topic, bringing up the wedding gift, knowing that Victor will be distracted by this. Then again, after she has caught Victor in Victoria's room, Emily is not interested or curious about the situation. I mean, sure, she asks who Victoria is, but she's not really interested in hearing an answer. Instead, what she really wants is to use that dialogue to assert her dominance as Victor's wife. Back in the elder's place, she doesn't take the time to listen to Victor. She doesn't question since when they'd known each other, was he truly set to marry this woman? She just immediately starts blaming, starts sobbing, and there's nothing wrong with crying, obviously, but it's the fact that she is crying while simultaneously shutting down, while also escalating the argument. Like, girly, let's be for real for a second. This man doesn't even know your first name, and you want him to choose you to automatically fall madly, deeply, desperately, unconditionally in love with you after knowing you for like 5 minutes? It's giving delusional. But anyways, another example of this is when the elder tells her that their marriage is not binding and that she has to talk to Victor, and she just refuses because she knows Victor will leave her if she does tell him. And so instead, she just throws herself on the floor. You know, even if we go back to the very beginning, she's not the one who tells Victor about her past. It's Bone Jangles who gives us the tea after Emily dismisses it as a long story. So even though they spend the most screen time together, Emily doesn't really know Victor, and vice versa. The only thing they have in common is that they can both play the piano, and one hobby isn't going to be enough to hold the marriage together. Truthfully, I don't believe Victor ever had romantic feelings for her, and I can assure you Emily does not love that man, despite what she says. All of their deeper interactions boil down to one of two things. Either one, Victor is playing along to try and escape her, or two, Victor feels sorry for her, and so he plays along. So I want to take a moment to focus on when Victor agrees to remarry Emily. A lot of people online use this as proof that he did love her, but at this point in the movie, he knows Victoria is marrying Lord Barkis, but more importantly, Victor thinks that Victoria willingly agreed to this marriage. He only agrees to give his life up for Emily because he has no life to get back to. He sees it as a way to go down a sewer slide, and he thinks that something good can at least come of it. Something is better than nothing, essentially, is his thinking. He's not doing it out of love. Now, even if Victor and Emily had gone through with it, their marriage wouldn't have been the happily ever after that a lot of people suggest. Eventually, Victor would have resented Emily for keeping him from marrying Victoria. So I think at that moment, he is feeling so much pain that he doesn't really think about this. But surely as time went by, the resentment would have grown, and Emily would have had to spend eternity wondering if Victor would have chosen her had things played differently. And Victor would have spent the rest of eternity hating Emily for not giving him the chance to choose. And that really is the key point in all of this. At the end of the day, Emily's Air subscription has expired, but Victor still very much has a premium subscription. So for them to be together, Victor would have to give up his life, both literally and metaphorically. He has a family, even if, it's not the greatest. He has acquaintances, a house, a fiance, and realistically even a job, because I'm sure his father's company is his to inherit. So for Emily to expect Victor to give that up for her, a stranger, is extremely toxic. I think this was the best ending that this movie and that Emily could have ever had. Emily was always meant to find peace, honestly. Pairing her up with someone would just be a band-aid. The truth is, what happened to her wasn't fair. She didn't deserve that. It's as infuriating as it is depressing, but as harsh as it is to say this, there was nothing to be done. We all have one chance at life, and if that chance is ruined, be it by our own hand or by someone else's, it doesn't matter. You're screwed. The reason why life is so precious is because it comes with an expiration date, and what you didn't enjoy in life, you won't be able to make up for in death. especially when it comes to marriage. Even if Emily had gotten Victor to fall in love with her, no man would have been a replacement for that initial dream of meeting someone special who wants to share their life with you, of getting married, having kids, growing old together, and living all of those experiences, and then eventually being called to St. Peter's Gate and having that joy and that peace that comes from knowing that you and your partner loved each other as much as you could and built a life together. For Emily, there's nothing to build. No man, no relationship, not even Victor would have been able to fulfill that hole that was left in her. And that's why coming to terms with that and having the satisfaction of justice, of seeing her unaliver face karma and to be able to confront him, was the most beautiful thing that the movie could have done for her. But yeah, that's my 2 cents on Corpse Bride, one of my favorite animated movies of all time. And shout out to my sister, by the way. If it wasn't for her playing this movie over and over again until the CD got so scratched that the movie would stop playing in the bone jangle scene, then I would have never met this masterpiece, because I was definitely too scared by the cover to ever want to watch it. So thank you, sister. I love you. Even if your ships are a little questionable, that's fine. I forgive you. And if you made it all the way to the end, I'm proud of you. Thank you. I'm glad you didn't get bored, and I appreciate it. I would be very interested to know what ship you're on. If you're hashtag Victor and Victoria, hashtag Emily and Victor, hashtag all 3 of them. I don't know, maybe you're pulling Alani Flo, or hashtag both of them deserved better. Victor can go screw himself. But that was it for this rant. Bye.